Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this session on digital transformation with SAP and John Keels. So first of all, I'd like to welcome all of you, and I'm Darshan Kure. I'm presently a senior advisor for the Margo Institute, and I was formerly executive director of SLASCOM. So topic today, very quickly, is as I said, digital transformation, and we're talking about a complex corporate environment, which is becoming more and more complex and uncertain. So I think the key word is uncertain with the pandemic in place, and really what companies will be measured on, or companies will succeed on, will be on how agile and how much foresight they have into the future. Right, and companies need to become smarter, not really work harder, but work smarter and have the right channels, have the right partners, and the intelligent enterprise is what will go ahead and capture the market. So again, as I said, John Keels IT together with SAP has organized this webinar to take you through some of the difficulties as well as the challenges that organizations face when mapping out their digital transformation journey. And the interesting thing is they will demonstrate a first-of-a-kind business transformation as a service that responds to the need for a simplified, flexible route that suits you and is fully accompanied every step of the way. So I won't take up any more of your time rather. I will introduce our first speaker. He's Mr. Harsha Senanayaka, and he has been at Union Assurance since 2016. He's currently the Chief Information Officer. He started his career at John Keels in IT, and he has 14 years experience in IT and management. He has functioned in many roles in IT, and from solution architecture to the head of enterprise applications. And he has acquired a lot of in-depth knowledge on the subject of transformation in IT. He holds a BSc in computer science from the London Metropolitan University and a postgraduate diploma in information systems management from the University of Colombo. So Harsha, without further ado, all over to you.
Thank you, Darshan. Good afternoon to everyone. Can we please have the slide deck up? Yeah, so this is me. I think Darshan gave an introduction. So I've been in the group for 20 years. Okay. So just to start of the presentation, digital disruption. So this is a hot topic that we have been talking about for the last decade or so, right? We have seen some of the startups breaking into stock exchange top 12 list. So just want to start with this point here. So if you take the longevity of the S&P company, so this is US stock market index. So you can see from 2000 to 2015 and 2018 how the top 12 has dramatically shifted. So now you don't see the traditional GEs, ExxonMobil, Pfizer. So these companies have been overtaken by the more digitally savvy Apples, the Googles and the Microsofts. So recent survey has also shown that in terms of the age of a typical company in this index has shrunk from 35 years to 15 to 20 years. So this is a sort of disruption that we have seen. And if you take some of these companies, I think just passed $2 trillion as well. So the amount of market cap and interest that these companies are poised to disrupt is clearly hidden. Next slide, please. So I mean, those are some statistics, but here you can see we have seen real life companies going bankrupt due to this disruption. If you take companies like DAC, you would have smartphones really disrupted them, so they are nowhere to be seen now. And we have seen the bookstores like Borders Books and Music, so they are not there now. Netflix completely revolutionized the streaming and the video market, and of course Thomas Cook went under. So these are due to the digital players really disrupting those markets. So while hearing all of this, I think yes, please go to the next slide. So we know this disruption really happened, and we are talking about the next wave of innovation as well. So I have a small clip on the fourth industrial revolution that talks beyond what we have seen already and what's into the future. Please play. Can't hear the audio.
The first years of a new revolution, a transition from one age to another. The fourth industrial revolution will transform our world to affect how we learn, work, move, and interact. By learning from the influence of several major historical events, we can peer into our possible future, enabled by the convergence of emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, blockchain, and self-driving cars. We won't necessarily answer the question of where we will find ourselves on the other side of this revolution, but we will have a better sense of what it may mean to each of us, our organizations, and for society in general.
So that's glimpse of what's into the future. So we don't know still how autonomous computing will change our lives, how self-driving cars will change our lives. AI is taking over, so this disruption is waiting to happen. However, next slide, please. However, we have been hearing this for the last 10 plus years, but I think at board level we have been always complacent. So what we, even though we have seen this as a need to change, I think we have been procrastinating, and until this pandemic really happened. So that so just wanted to our poll statistics as well. Anyone from Articulate can say. So we had a quick poll to ask, who really drove digital transformation in recent years. So, so what's the result of the poll? Is a poll done? Just just wanted to break the ice as well. So that's the sort of, mindset, people will have that, CEOs or the CIOs really drove this transformation. I can see 38% saying CEO, and I think 62% saying CIO. But really what, while I also like to take this credit, but, this catastrophe of, this pandemic really really accelerated the need for us to transform. So what really happened, like 10 years we had to do within about 6 months time. Next slide please. And we have seen how our lives getting impacted. I think work from home became the new normal. Our children started learning online, ordering goods from your grocery, became something normal. And, we have been preaching of, paperless office for the last so many years, but this became a reality overnight. So this is sort of, a transformation that happened due to this, pandemic. Next slide, please. So I just want to take you all through our journey at Union Assurance. So we of course started this journey a few years back. So modernize our legacy insurance system. So we actually won this award, a global award as well for this. So I think most of the CIOs and CIOs really, are worried to take on these, major scale changes to the organization. But I think we embarked on this journey and we came out really good. So I will be talking you through some of the work that enabled us, this platform. So next slide, please. Next slide, please. So one thing that we really embarked, sorry, go back one. So one thing that we really want to establish was, so we had a legacy S400 based system. So we want to really modernize that entire core infrastructure, and we also use some of the SAP technologies, including the financial treasury, and of course success factors and Reba platforms to really establish this nice digital core. On top of this, we had, if one of you are from insurance background, so we have multiple channels, from our agency channel, our bank assurance channel, our brokers, our direct to consumer channels. So all of these channels were integrated seamlessly through this digital core. Next slide, please. So what we did was we looked at three pillars, looking from customers' perspective, advisors, and our own employees. Next slide, please. So for our customers, we rolled out a complete self-service application since due to the pandemic, all our customers wanted a contactless solution. So we roll out this app. So we managed to achieve about 100,000 downloads. So this was one of the best insurance apps that managed to reach. So this was actually built in about 3 months' time, in using all the functionality that was available through our core system and our modern core system. And we also had our smartwatch connected. So this was all integrated together. Next slide, please. And we also launched, we work with multiple partners, ecosystem partners to, offer telemedicine, and of course, launch like all these fitness challenges to keep our engagement with our customers going. Next slide, please. And we also launched a direct to consumer platform called clicklife.lk, where our potential customers were able to purchase directly all these products. So we had our digital term product online, as well as our investment products. Next slide, please. And our advisors, so this is the largest channel for us. So they were so they have to sell remote. So this is one thing that we want to really train. We have a 3,000 strong advisor force. So we had to retool them, train them how to sell online. So this is what we did. Next slide, please. So we have enabled 100% of all our proposals to be digital, with a strong STP rate, straight through processing. And also we have enabled all our advisors to have a personal home page on our website, so they can use that for lead generation. Next slide, please. And we also made sure they can run their collections campaigns where there's a huge renewal base. So we help them to collect their due premiums online, while they actually work from home. And we also introduce advanced analytics to help them pick those risky policies where they had to some additional effort to collect those premiums. Next slide, please. And we also enabled all these e-learning platform for them, where they were able to get all the trainings that were required and to also develop their skills. Next slide, please. So in terms of our employees, what we did was, yes, next slide, please. So work from home, became the normal. So we had all our 500 plus employees working from home from day one. And we also transform all our branch networks from traditional MPLS network, where we gave them access from anywhere they wanted to. And also we enhance our cybersecurity posture, and we also gave them all digital dashboards for them to completely be paperless. Next slide, please. So last 3 slides, I just want to talk about key fundamental things, like this entire transformation we managed to do in like 3 to 6 months, due to some of the best practices that we adopted, learning from players like Sap and John Keels, how we really enabled it. So my three recommendations, anyone who's planning to embark on this journey is, yes, next slide, please. So we have to modernize and establish our digital core. I think the fear that we have is those are long drawn transformation projects, but the SaaS applications, or software as a service is there now. So we don't have to really be concerned about these longer cycles or these legacy hardware maintenance cost, all of that. I think it is a no-brainer to look at it, and there are suites of applications from SAP to all these great that you can easily stitch together and have a world-class operating model. Here, next slide, please. And embrace cloud. So this is this is mainly for CIOs. While some industries may have requirements to have some data on-prem, you can creatively use cloud infrastructure to manage. So that is what I would strongly advise all the CIOs to go for this. And of course, even things like security infrastructure has completely moved to cloud, so you don't really have to invest on data centers, all these firewalls, all these VPN bandwidth that we all went through as nightmare as all our users moved to the cloud. So these are efficiently available in cloud now. Yes, last slide please. Yes, and of course my recommendation is to really transform our traditional IT team to be more digital savvy team. So this would mean having the right data science or data engineering skills, and also to inculcate a culture where we have strong product management capabilities, not just software engineers, where they understand the importance of business tech and user interface, or that whole psyche of doing business. So that is what my three core recommendations are. And last slide being to enable this agility and to really transform, we need to have that sort of mindset, and of course the urgency to change. So that is what I really wanted to showcase, and from our humble lessons learned during our transformation journey. So thank you. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Harsha. That was really insightful and interesting, and very practical, really, for all of us. And it seems so easy, the way you explain it with a smile, really. I'm sure it wasn't. So next up, we have Mr. Pushkar Bhatt. Mr. Bhatt leads the Center of Excellence for SAP Digital Core Business for the Indian subcontinent, and is responsible for driving the company's cloud and on-premise ERP business. Pushkar has a track record of more than 20 years of ensuring customer success, driving effectiveness and simplicity in execution. Pushkar started his tenure at SAP as the business development manager for SAP HANA, and played a critical role, SAP HANA, and played a critical role in incubating the product in its early years. Over the last 7 years, Pushkar had played a crucial role in shaping the go-to-market strategy for innovation technologies for SAP India, including SAP BW on HANA and SAP Business Suite on HANA. Pushkar is an alumnus of Gokhale Institute of Politics and Economics, Pune, and earned his master's in economics. So it's interesting to have an economist speaking to us on digital transformation. But that was way back in 1996. And he has also published 2 research papers in the field of large-scale macroeconomic models with sectoral interactions. So he understands how digital transformation will spread out beyond industries to the larger economy or the larger global scale. So over to you, Pushkar.
Thanks a lot, Darshan, and a warm welcome to all of the participants today. Thanks a lot for taking time out for this particular session. As Darshan mentioned, my name is Pushkar Bhatt, and I'm part of SAP India, bringing the S/4HANA RISE product to all of you. I think, Harsha made a very important point. Digital transformation does not happen by accident. It actually takes a lot of groundwork and hard work, foundational work that's actually required to get companies started And union assurance is a classical example of a lot of groundwork that happened over the last many years, which allowed them to very quickly pivot onto taking things digital, be it in their customer-facing roles or partner-facing roles or their own internal processes. If I could have my slides, please. So as we have been speaking to our customers, there are a couple of things that have actually become very, very apparent. The first is, I think as Harsha mentioned, customers today are extremely, keen to go ahead and connect the middle office, back office with the front office itself. And the reason for this is that the entire customer experience that you go ahead and deliver to a large extent depends upon these backend processes. Second is, I think we all acknowledge the critical role that data and analytics is playing, not only in designing strategy, but also going ahead and executing on it. And third most important is that if you look at the leaders, right, what they're going and doing consistently is really disrupting themselves so that they don't get disrupted. Because, the choices are very, very clear over here. If you do not go ahead and change the way you go ahead and work, there is going to be an upstart who is going to come and disrupt you. And this essentially has been a point that we've been going ahead and talking about for the last many years. Specifically, what SAP started doing, therefore, was creating an entire new architecture and a definition of how companies need to go ahead and run. And that's what I'm going to go ahead and describe in the next slide, which is around the intelligent enterprise. So if I can have my next slide, please. So what is the intelligent enterprise? It's about going ahead and really, operating beyond the boundaries of the organization itself. So while S/4HANA as a business suite allows you to really go ahead and tie very, very closely all of your internal processes, it's equally important that we go ahead and connect with our customers as well as our business partners, so that the entire, I would say transactional efficiency is something that can be elevated to the next level. And SAP in many which ways went ahead and started investing into this many years ago, initially through acquisitions and more today by going and developing its own capabilities. And if I was to sort of decipher this particular slide for you, we started with the business technology platform. And the business technology platform is all about all of the different enabling technologies that are required to run an intelligent enterprise. Technologies like API integration, technologies like SAP HANA and in-memory database that makes OLTP as well as OLAP possible within one particular database, or synchronization networks by which we are able to go ahead and ensure that one transaction effectively triggers a host of multiple transactions, which each individually start getting updated into the respective tables, right? So there are multiple sets of technologies and capabilities. We also started investing into, bringing in machine learning and AI into the processes that we're going ahead and implementing within not only the ERP, plus other LOBs also. And then in addition to that, there were things like new UXs, user interfaces, right, which we started again delivering through this particular technology platform, and also robotic process automation. So in effect, what has happened is that this particular business technology platform, which is at the bottom or the foundational level of the entire intelligent enterprise stack, is providing an extremely strong foundation for us to create a future-ready application landscape that can be run natively in the cloud and delivered, quickly, efficiently, reliably, and more important, in a very, very cost-effective manner to our customers. The second important point that we've been focusing on has been sustainability. And as we all know, be it Sri Lanka or India, we have long coastlines, And we all know that global warming is a real issue. You know, with coastal corrosion happening, you know, there is marine pollution in terms of plastics that are out over there. And the reality is that there are, you know, a handful of companies, maybe about 5% of the total corporates in the world. If they come together and take up actions around sustainability, they can go ahead and change things. And that's another reason why in the days to come, you will go ahead and find that SAP will be going in, you know, not only talking about monitoring your carbon footprint, but more important, also designing processes which actually lead to more sustainable practices. The third most important element out over here and the topic of today's conversation is around S/4HANA as the core enterprise ERP, the intelligent ERP that is able to go ahead and elevate your business processes to the next level. And this, in many which ways, is basically around going ahead and acting as that particular framework that ties everything right from the business technology platform, the analytics, and the business networks into a coherent end-to-end process. The industry cloud is again new capabilities that we're going ahead and bringing in, which is going to go ahead and is going to be API based. So all that you need to do is plug and play into the cloud and start getting the benefits. But it's focused around driving certain very specific industry capabilities that customers have been asking for. And then you have the business networks. These are in many ways the most important element of the next generation of business transformation. It's around improving efficiencies in terms of your procurement, in terms of your logistics, in terms of how you integrate with your asset intelligence and gather that intelligence around things, or for that matter, even things like your travel and expense management and or contract employees. And all of these put together basically deliver, on this vision of intelligent enterprise. What was, however, required was a clear path forward. How do you go ahead and start delivering and landing these capabilities with your customers? And that was sort of, the critical issue that we were all faced with. And so therefore, what we did was we basically went ahead and launched RISE with SAP. So if I can have my next slide, please. What SAP has gone ahead and done is recognize the fact that every customer starts off at a different unique starting point, but they all have one single objective. You could be a small business which is going and saying that I'm going to start off small, but I'm going to scale up extremely quickly. Or you could be a large enterprise which has got a lot of customization and on-premise systems and you want to move into the cloud, right? We go ahead and take all of these different combinations. We go ahead and cater to the requirements of all of these businesses and then deliver transformation capabilities to them. If I could bring in, the next slide, then I will sort of go ahead and walk you through, what some of these capabilities are and how do they get delivered. So if I can have my next slide, please. So RISE with SAP is business transformation as a service, but I think we underline two very important things. First, it's at your own terms, and second is it is at your own timelines. And this basically gives you the flexibility to go ahead and adopt pieces of the transformation that are most relevant to you, starting with the renovation of the core itself that is around S/4HANA ERP. Can I have my next slide? So, the question that comes up is that, Pushkar, you have gone ahead and launched this new capability. This is so new. Should we go ahead and look at this, or should we go ahead and start investing into it? Well, whatever we're going ahead and seeing today has been, in a sense, a development that started off way back in 2013 when we first launched the SAP HANA Enterprise Cloud. Over a period of time, we have gone ahead and started delivering the S/4HANA ERP as a service through our partners, working jointly with Azure, AWS, and Google Cloud Platform. So today, what we go ahead and offer with RISE with SAP is, can we have the previous slide for a second? Yeah, is in a sense, ERP, which is a SaaS, Okay, but I want to go ahead and highlight a couple of things. We have today got over 1,600 customers whom we are already going ahead and running. Our availability from an year-to-date perspective, a system availability running on hyperscalers year-to-date has been an astounding 99.997%. Okay, very close to the 5 nines that are delivered by the hyperscalers. The difference is that our hyperscaler partners deliver that at the infrastructure layer. We deliver this at the application tier. Okay, and it means that you need to go ahead and do a lot more to make this particular thing possible. More important, 98% of the processes that we today have rolled out to manage all of these instances are completely automated. So, you know, all of this is an extremely mature ecosystem that we are now bringing to our customers. And the fact is that we've been going and seeing some massively positive traction with customers, you know, really going ahead and investing, starting off their journeys, and many of them have actually gone live. If we go to the next slide, please. So what we always go ahead and say is that, you know, RISE with SAP is not just an upgrade. It is not about moving from ECC to S/4HANA, but rather it's actually a new way of working. It's about simplicity of one single bundle, a single offer with a single contract. It is services which are getting bundled at each step, you know, coming from SAP or its partners. But most important, what we're talking about is faster time to value without high upfront cost. Because, you know, a critical thing that we go ahead and do is convert all of these capabilities that we're talking about into a, you know, into a RISE subscription model, which basically converts your operational expense, or rather your capital expense, into an OPEX, and then allows you to go ahead and pay as you go. If you could have the next slide, please. So if I was to sort of go ahead and tell you what all is now built into RISE, you know, what we have in RISE with SAP is the SAP S/4HANA Cloud. There are two versions of that, the public cloud version and the private cloud version. You have all of the infrastructure that is required for going ahead and running and operating this particular environment. We have the capability around business process intelligence. So, you know, there are multiple process KPIs on which we can go ahead and enable reporting. This helps you to go ahead and identify what are the different bottlenecks that you go ahead and have. And to that extent, really go ahead and focus on them in terms of either deploying robotic process automation, or for that matter, going and having automated situation handling, so on and so forth. So there is a critical element around BPI. Now, any customer who is moving from ECC to S/4HANA often requires, you know, tools around custom code analysis, around readiness checks, and obviously learning from SAP. And these again are part of this particular, you know, offering itself. And then what we did was that we clearly recognized the fact that when customers go ahead and transform, as Harsha said, it's no more about going and transforming only internally, but you need to also start connecting with the rest of the world. And to that extent, the entire SAP Business Network Starter Pack was essentially brought in. And this allows our customers to really start innovating in terms of how do they go ahead and interact with, you know, their vendors, you know, suppliers and vendors on one hand. How do they start going ahead and monitoring their assets? So we have the Asset Intelligence Network Starter Pack over there. And then the third important dimension that we saw was becoming critical was essentially around the logistics. So, you know, again, the starter pack includes the capabilities to go ahead and bring in logistics service providers and then allow them to go ahead and start, you know, collaborating with you on a real-time basis. Besides this, any transformation requires a strong business technology platform. So we provide certain credits for the SAP Business Technology Platform, which can be used for going ahead and innovating in terms of, you know, the applications that you want to go ahead and roll out and roll out. If I can have the next slide, please. Okay, so in essence, what are we going ahead and saying? what we are talking about really is that, you know, today when you go ahead and work or run your ERP, you essentially have at least 5 different partners that you need to go ahead and interact with, right? And a majority of the effort that is spent is in a sense in terms of the run operation. So what we are going to go ahead and really talk about is SAP is changing this particular business model. We say that not only do you go ahead and interact with us for software and support, but SAP also starts bringing in the infrastructure management and the technical managed services. This is then delivered as one single commercial construct to you, with software becoming a subscription and also including the associated cost of infrastructure and the technical managed services itself. Besides this, what you also need to go ahead and do is really focus on the advisory implementation and the application management services. So these two aspects get delivered by our partners, and you know, that is where we have Zarir coming in a little later after me to go ahead and talk about how partners complement. But I think the bottom line that is there is that with SAP taking over the run operations, it frees up, you know, the customers to go ahead and focus on the functional aspects of what is really critical to them, and you know, really drive that particular transformation, knowing very well that SAP will deliver that 99.7% uptime SLA and reliable and you know, a reliable and a secure system to you. If I can have my next slide. Can I have my next slide, please? Yeah. So this is just a simple elaboration and you know, detailing of what I mentioned previously. You know, 3 important parts: the functional scope, the infrastructure and its management, and the technical managed services. Important point to go ahead and note in point number 3 is that we go ahead and build in high availability and business continuity by default. And the more important thing that we do is deliver a 99.7% uptime SLA contractually, so that, you know, that's the level of assurance that you have that SAP will go ahead and keep lights on, ensure that it is, you know, secure and it is patched. If I can go to then have my next slide. So this is just a representation of the different kind of services that essentially come in. There are, you know, various different services, right from the service management to the basic operations, database management and tuning, infrastructure management, change control, security, all of which are included as a part of this. You don't go ahead and pay anything additional or extra for it. And to that extent, you can be rest assured that, you know, with Rise with SAP, you're able to go ahead and focus on the transformation bit rather than, you know, in terms of keeping the lights on itself. If I can have my next slide. And we can just proceed. So I think, you know, if I was to go ahead and really summarize before I hand it over to Zarir, there were a couple of things that we need to go ahead and understand. What we typically go ahead and propose today is S/4HANA SAP, S/4HANA Private Cloud. And, you know, what we are therefore going ahead and talking about is really delivering the best of the flexibility of on-premise combined with the pure SaaS model that we can go ahead and bring to the customer. So the licensing model becomes a subscription, and SAP goes ahead and handles product support, technical operations, and infrastructure for you. And you know, the implementation, content ownership, application management, and content lifecycle management is basically handled by the partners. If I can have my next slide. So this basically is a representation of what you can go ahead and do. If you're moving from an ECC to S/4HANA, the cloud enables you to go ahead and take up a conversion, so you don't need to do a re-implementation. We also handle selective data transition or new implementation scenarios. The other important point that I want to highlight is all of the customizations that you've done on-premise can be moved into the cloud. And most important, I think, SAP, as a part of its overall subscription, builds up the cost of handling the technical upgrades on an annual basis. The functional upgrades are done jointly working with the partners, but the technical upgrades are something that are built in. This basically ensures that you have an evergreen infrastructure. You know, if I can have the next slide, please. So with that, what I want to do is really go ahead and summarize and talk about why you should go ahead and look at, Rise with SAP when it comes to starting off your digital journeys. Number one, it really takes away the burden of running SAP, managing it, patching it away from you, and keeps it to the specialists who are running it at scale, both in a reliable as well as a secure manner. Number two, it moves all of your licenses from a perpetual into a subscription model, but this also goes ahead and brings in a lot of flexibility, taking away a lot of shelfware, but also bringing the capability of bringing in new products or new capabilities as you go on. And the third most important thing is that it really gives you a peace of mind whereby you can then start focusing your attention on the problems that your business needs to tackle and become true business partners for the business stakeholders. With that, what I will do is that I will hand it back to Darshan, and thank you all for taking time out, and then we'll be back for the Q&A at a later point in time. Back to you, Darshan.
Thank you, Pushkar. That was very informative, and we really feel sort of motivated to get to know more about what SAP can do, and of course, get to know more about the flexibility and the innovation around the whole digital transformation journey. So next up, we have Mr. Zarir Shakur. Zarir Shakur leads the SAP solutions and services for John Keel's IT, and he has more than 20 years of industry experience across a number of ERP solutions, in which he has spent 14 years driving technical and functional consulting and project management before moving into leading SAP practices and solutions at John Keel's IT in the last 7 years. So over to you, Zarir.
Thank you, Darshan. Thank you, and welcome you all for this session. And I hope before I start, I just want to take a pulse of Rise with SAP. Sometimes when we talk to people, they take it like, what is this Rise with SAP? Is it a new version? Like Pushkar said, it's not a new version. So just to give it in a nutshell, it's exactly the same S4HANA versions that we know. For example, 1909 or S4HANA 2020. It's the same ERP, but what happens is now SAP is going to take over the infrastructure part also, where either you implement it, deploy it on your on-premise. All these days, traditionally, we implement S4HANA or any ERP on-premise hardware or on the cloud. For example, Azure, that's what we do for the last few years, we deploy it. So what Rise is the exact same version. So functionality wise, there is no change. So nothing to worry. It's exactly the same S4HANA version deployed on one of the hyperscalers. It can be Azure, AWS, or Google Cloud, anywhere. So customers don't have to worry about that. It's the same S4HANA versions. What changes is SAP will take care of your licensing. All these days, they were taking care about the licensing. Now they'll take care of your infrastructure as well. So where we come into the picture is we will help the customers implement and support. So from a customer point of view, the headache is gone, where you don't have to worry about your hardware. It's no more, and there is no capex involved. So the licensing model changes. Functionality is not changing at all. The licensing model changes from capex to opex, and the infrastructure is being taken care of by SAP itself. So it's nothing change in the functionality of the ERP. It's exactly the same ERP when we consider the PC private cloud edition. There are two versions, like Pushkar said, the public cloud and the private cloud. What we are basically talking about is the private cloud edition, which is exactly the same as the S4HANA. It is in the market right now. So I think that's in a nutshell. Probably any questions, you can just post it over. And I'm Zari from John Keats IT. Like said, so I basically represent the SAP products and solutions for John Keats IT. Yeah, let's see how we can help this RISE with SAP program rolling out to the customers and so on, and how we come into the picture and what's our journey towards probably the last 5 years, how we have, what's our journey and how we have helped the customers in this digital transformation. Can we have the slides up, please? Yeah, so how SAP works is through partners like John Keats IT and any other partner for that sense. So we have partners who's working with SAP who are actually authorized by SAP to sell SAP products and services. And then, for example, implement those, which is called the service authorization. And there is support. Any implementation, any ERP or any other SAP product for that sake, RISE with SAP or anything, there are three things. One is the sales part of it, where you are authorized to sell the SAP products. For example, today we are talking about RISE with SAP. So there are partners who are authorized to sell RISE with SAP. And then there are partners who are authorized to service, which means to implement. And there is another authorizations to support. That's primarily what we, John Keats IT, from an SAP pillar, that's what we do. We are authorized to sell, service, and support all the SAP products, which is basically mentioned here. For example, the latest addition is the RISE with SAP, which is what we are talking about right now, which is the same S4HANA version, but it is deployed on one of the hyperscalers, Azure, AWS, or Google Cloud, but taken care by SAP itself. So it's one vendor concept. So your license, your infrastructure, everything has been taken care by SAP itself. So we will come into picture where to implement the solution, either it can be a fresh implementation or it can be a migration from the existing ERP or SAP version, or it can be for the support part of it. And if you see the authorization, I have listed few of the authorization which we have taken. Apart from that, we have the open solution authorizations. So the first one, I have just listed down the RISE with SAP PCE edition, which is what we are authorized to sell and service as well. And even on the support part of it, which comes with basically these authorizations have to, you have to go through, the pre-sales qualifications, the certifications, and the web assessments. You have to have certified consultants. So all these, each and every qualification that we have has prerequisites, like the certified consultants to all the pre-sales consultants. So if you see, we are certified to for RISE with SAP, we are certified on SAP S4HANA and the HANA database itself, and the SuccessFactors suite, which is the cloud version of the total HCM suite, which is from, you call it earlier, we call it hire to fire, but now, like diplomatically, we call it from, onboarding to offboarding, the complete HCM suite, we are covering it, and the Ariba solutions, the strategic procurement part of it, web solutions, and the sales and services cloud is the SAP C4HANA part of it, which covers about 5 different clouds, the CRM, sales cloud, services, marketing, commerce, and the data cloud part of it. So we are authorized on all these different products. First 3 is all about the ERP, and the next 3 is the cloud SAP products. And further down, you see the service authorization, which is basically for the implementation part of it. So we have the business technology platform, which is about the RISE with SAP, the business technology part of it, and the implementation of SAP S4HANA. So we have those 2. And so, as I said, there are 3 parts. One is the sales, services, and there is support. So once you have your SAP, ERP, or any other SAP product implemented, you need support, your continuous support, annual maintenance services, or the product maintenance services that also we provide as part of the John Keats IT portfolio. So if you can go to the next slide. So this is basically about the authorization that we have on the support part of it. So there are two two different kind of supports that SAP provides. One is the SAP AMS provider, certified AMS provider for Business Suite, which is the old ERP, popularly known as the ECC part of it, and S4HANA. We are authorized from SAP to support both ECC and the S4HANA part of it. Even when we go to RISE with SAP, it's exactly the same S4HANA part of it, which you see on the first certificate. And there is one other, these are all audited by SAP, and given every 2 years, there's a rigorous audit process going on. You need to have your consultants, you need to have your processes. It's like people, processes, and the systems you have to have. Things like solution manager to have you track your SLAs, and the people who are certified on these different solutions. You have to have everything in order to get these certifications. And recently, about 2 years back, what we have got is something called SAP PCE, Partner Center of Expertise, which is basically like we provide like the exact same support which SAP provides in the MENA region. This is not applicable to Sri Lanka. For what is applicable for Sri Lanka is the MS, which we got from SAP, the first 2 certificates that you see. But for MENA, there is an additional requirement, which is basically instead of SAP supporting, because you have the first line, second level, and the third level support. Here, what SAP authorized us is to do the product level support also. So we are basically representing SAP in supporting our clients in MENA. We basically have about five large clients in the MENA region. We only with this certification only we can do that support part with. Otherwise, SAP won't allow us to do the support on behalf of SAP in that region. So we are basically on all 3 areas. We are certified: sales, services, and support. That's where we come from for RISE with SAP and all the other SAP products in Sri Lanka and the MENA region. Those are the 2 regions that we operate currently. We have operations in Southeast Asia as well, but we have offices in Sri Lanka and in UAE. So with those 2 partnerships, we have all these qualifications and authorizations from SAP to support. Yeah, if we can go to the next slide. And just I want to highlight one point over here, because like Pushkar said, from 2013 onwards, SAP has introduced the HANA, the revolutionary, the in-memory database platform. So we've been in business from 2015 onwards, because we've been authorized from 2010. So 2010, and then as an SAP partner. And 2015, we have won the first SAP HANA Innovation Award, which is basically the first in the subcontinent for in this region itself, where we have actually developed a solution which is currently known as the custom experience. So it's personalized custom experience, giving the personalized custom experience to the clients, which is basically a POC we have developed for the hospitality sector, because all the John Keel's hotels and the properties are running on SAP. So we have developed on the HANA platform, we have developed a solution where completely you personalize the custom experience. For example, when a customer walks into a hotel or a property, from welcoming from his first name to giving his preferences, giving his preferred room to the preferred meal, to everything is completely personalized. Later on, this is currently what we are doing in the C4HANA part of it. The complete custom experience is we have initiated it long time back with SAP in 2015, and then, but that's only a POC. We couldn't actually develop a product based on that, but we have taken the same principles and then we have applied it with SAP during 2018 towards implementing the customer experience to a few of the companies, like the Sales Cloud, to Services Cloud, SAP CRM, and everything. So just wanted to highlight that we are in the game from 2015 itself on the HANA front. And here there are like a few other awards that we won from other pillars, because John Keel's IT is not only about SAP. We have the Microsoft pillar, we have the software development, the RP, and everything. So if you can move to the next slide, please. And a few of the other awards that we have won from SAP, we've been the partner new partner of the year. And then we have won the ACE Awards from 2012 to 2016. ACE Awards is all about implementing the SAP solutions to the best, and then the SAP recognized us. And apart from that, there is something that I want to highlight here is about the Microsoft. We are gold partner from SAP. We are gold partner with Microsoft and UiPath as well. Why Microsoft matters here is, see, we've been implementing SAP on Azure for the last 4 years. I think from 2018 onwards, we have implemented first time in Sri Lanka SAP Extended Warehouse Management on Azure in Sri Lanka, and we have done a complete ISR migration again on Azure. And we have done recently, we have completed a project SAP again on Azure, which is basically exactly the same thing. Now we do with SAP, the RISE with SAP, which is basically the latest SAP S/4HANA version, either on Azure, or you can select your own, the preferred hyperscaler. But the only difference is, so far what we have done is we have managed both the implementation and the infrastructure, the Azure part of it, or the hyperscaler, the cloud infrastructure part, as John Keel's IT. Now, the difference is now we will be still doing the same thing, but the infrastructure part will be managed by SAP. So it's a one vendor concept where the licensing infrastructure, everything will be managed by SAP. But we've been doing this for the last few years. That's what basically I wanted to highlight here. And UiPath also, we are a gold partner. We are UiPath matters here is for all the robotic process automation. Basically the manual, the complicated manual processes that you have, what we do is we just automate it through UiPath. So that also matters here. Things like the vendor evaluation to, there are things in financial processes to order processing, everything. So even at John Keel's and even at our partners, we have done it. So the very critical manual repeatable tasks are automated through UiPath. So it's coming under the RPA. So that also matters a bit, because this is also part of where we, on the SAP pillar, where like the Azure and all the other automations matters. Can we go to the next slide, please? And just since we are talking about this digital transformation journey, I just want to highlight the last 5 years, the things that we have done for our clients. And, you know, like apart from actually supporting about 20 plus external customers, also during this last 5 years, John Keel's being our primary customer. Apart from that, we have 20 external customers, 5 large customers in MENA region and Resta in Sri Lanka. While supporting these customers, we have implemented, if you see, when SAP has introduced in 2013, from 2015 onwards, we are implementing SAP versions. It was initially called the Simple Finance version. So we've been implemented about 3 Simple Finance versions, about 2016 to 17, and one on Suite on HANA. Suite on HANA is exactly the same old ERP on the new HANA database. And then we moved into the C4HANA or the CRM technologies, where we have implemented Service Cloud. This is like the field service management part of it. And we have implemented Ariba and SuccessFactors in the John Keel's group. And then Sales Service Cloud and the contact center for another customer in the MENA region, which is completely revamping the whole business processes. Like it's actually like getting them ready to the pandemic situation, where we have completely brought all the showrooms to the customer management, to the customer's application, everything. It's completely mobile-based applications, where even the sales agents, like Harsha said, the sales agents, they have their own mobile application where they don't, even the customer, they don't have to come to a showroom to see the, it's in the automotive industry to see the vehicles. Even customers given mobile applications where they can do all their transactions through the mobile itself. So it's, and the contact center itself. Either contact center is, it can be either a phone call, email, or social media, everything is integrated. And then again, we came back in about 2019, Sales Cloud for, again, Sales Cloud implementation, that basically is CRM part of it. And then we have the largest implementation of Extended Warehouse Management, that is also on Azure, the latest EWM. And then, and we have again we have done a migration from an old ERP, ECC ERP to the latest S/4HANA 1909 version, which is same as the RISE with SAP version on Azure. That is again on Azure. And then we did one more Service Cloud implementation. And the last one, we just concluded that we have gone live one was in April and June. That was also on SAP S/4HANA 1909 version on Azure. So this is kind of prior to the RISE with SAP, but it's exactly the same application, the same ERP on Azure. But moving forward, currently we are working on few other projects to move ERP workloads to the existing SAP S/4HANA versions to RISE with SAP S/4HANA infrastructure, which is basically on Azure. So we are trying to move. So we are currently working on two or three projects currently we're working on to take them to the RISE environment. So this is kind of the journey for the last 5 years. So just want to emphasize that we've been in this picture. We are doing this S/4HANA on Azure, the same as the RISE with SAP, the same versions, everything for the last, from the day SAP invented the S/4HANA versions and for the last 10 years. So that's John Keel's IT, and that's all from me. Do we have anything else? The next slides? I don't think that might be the last slide. The next slide, please. So any questions regarding the RISE with SAP version? Is it any difference from ERP? What is on the bundled offer? How SAP is going to manage the infrastructure or the functionality of it, the support services? Any questions that you have, we're glad to answer. Darshan, back to you.
Right. So thanks, Zarir. And yeah, we have some interesting questions. Actually, some are very specific. I wouldn't know whom to direct it to, but I can sort of open it out to all of you. So there is a gentleman who's specifically asking about an IPTV operation, Internet Protocol Television operation, and he's wondering how to go about. I mean, what part of the system or which part of the operation he should use cloud for, and how to go about with cloud, embracing cloud technology. What would be the first steps in doing that? Is that something we can sort of discuss?
So let me go ahead and take a stab at it. It actually, to a large extent, depends upon, what is it that you want to go ahead and achieve at the end of. When you're saying you want to move to the cloud, what part of the operation do you want to move to the cloud? When it comes to IPTV, for example, there are today services that are available from hyperscalers where they can go ahead and take all of the content, host it, operate it, manage it for you. That's one of the options. The other, which becomes critical today, is that with all of these OTT platforms, billing is a critical part. And again, SAP does go ahead and play a critical role over there in terms of providing that billing flexibility. So we have solutions where, within the cloud portfolio, which actually allow customers to create these customized billing plans and execute on them based on their end customer requirements. So I think the real question is going to be that what is the end business outcome that you want to achieve, and then based on that, Zarir and his team could perhaps go ahead and take forward the discussion, saying that what would be the right approach to go ahead and follow.
Super. So we also have a question from Mr. Satyanarayan, and it's directed to Zarir specifically. So his question is quite a technical one, actually. So he says most existing legacy enterprise clients are looking to migrate to S/4HANA private cloud edition rather than the public cloud. Because of is it because is it because of the amount of customizations? That's his question.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's one of the main questions asked about this because there are two versions on RISE with SAP as well. Like Pushkar said, there's public cloud and the private PCE or the private cloud edition. Where private cloud edition matters is absolutely when you have a lot of customizations, when you want to keep your version, like for the next 5 years in the mainstream support, where you have your own customizations and everything. That's where what matters is to have the PCE. But if you have a vanilla version where you don't have customizations and you can keep up with the phase of, because Pushka, if I'm right, the public cloud is the upgrades are happening every quarter, right? Every quarter, or
they now move into once every 6 months, but yeah, they are more frequent.
Once every.
The flexibility that you
yes,
get
yes.
in the private cloud.
Yes. So if you can adapt to the cloud mindset, which means basically the standard functionalities of SAP, then you can go to the public cloud, which is the best economical option that we have. But if you have your own customization, the way of workings, and you don't want to, upgrade your system, you want to keep it for the minimum life cycle is like 5 years to be on the mainstream support, then obviously you go to the PCE version. I think customers who are having all these customization, their own processes, and the own way of workings, then the best is go to the PCE version of it. So it's it's about, if you have your own customizations and way of workings, then it's better to go to the PCE version of it. Pushka, I like to have your thoughts also.
No, absolutely, Zarid, you're bang on spot, and you know what the private cloud basically gives you is all of the flexibility that you had on premise, okay, including the customizations, including the custom processes, right? The flexibility of when you want to upgrade during that 5 years mainstream support, but at the same time, all of the qualities that a SaaS model actually brings in. So subscriptions for users or engines, or for that matter, the infrastructure, everything is in the SaaS model. So it is more of a pay as you go. And then SAP obviously takes care of the ongoing operations in terms of keeping lights on and ensuring that the systems are running reliably and running securely.
Thanks, Pushka.
Okay.
I hope Mr. Satya, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think that was quite a comprehensive answer. So from that, we'll move towards a bit more, take a step back and move towards slightly broader questions when it comes to industries. So we have participants from different industries, and they are in companies with different scales of operations, right? So, my question is, at what level do you sort of move towards sort of enhancing your ERP features, or move towards RISE with SAP? So how does organizations know this, and what are the industries that you see? Of course, there are very obvious ones, but I can open it out to all of you. What are the industries you see are getting disrupted very fast and need to sort of embrace technology and embrace systems like SAP, and move forward? So, so there are two parts of my question. What are the industries? So that I'm sure there are participants from different industries, and so who are the ones who should be more watchful, and who are the ones, and of course, what, how would they know? At what point would they know that they need to sort of take their digitization to the next level?
Yeah, so maybe Darshan, I can start off, and then maybe Harsha and Zarir can come in over here. So I'll take maybe a minute. See, I think before the pandemic, we used to go ahead and say that those industries which are more digital, be it entertainment, be it broadcasting, media, or for that matter, services, these were the ones that were really getting disrupted. The pandemic effectively went ahead and showed us that, digitization is not a choice anymore. We need to go ahead and take up that particular journey. And the earlier that we do it, the faster we do it, the better it is. So I think it is relevant to nearly all industries. The second question that comes up is that, who is getting disrupted and who is not. And I will say that, again, everyone is getting disrupted. Either you're getting disrupted due to your supply chains being impacted, or your customers being impacted, or, if I take, for example, some of the white good manufacturers, who have been our customers, they used to have sales people out over there in the field collecting orders from the dealers and distributors and ensuring that the physical goods reached over there. And suddenly one day, because parts of the world went into a lockdown, they were forced to move into digital channels, right? That's just one example. Similarly, today, a lot of people are going ahead and looking at mobility. Automobiles used to be one of the most traditional industries, but they are moving completely into a different world where they're saying that mobility as a service rather than selling an automobile. So I think large and small industries, or doesn't matter whether you're in hospitality or you're into fashion and retail, or you're into services, disruption is all over. People who realize that and then decide to ride that wave, will be the winners. And Harsha has adequately, demonstrated that with the change that they've done at Union Assurance, that, if you have the right platforms, you can pivot very quickly and start extending, some of these services to your stakeholders. Harsha, maybe if you want to share in or chime in with your perspectives and share with us your experience.
Yeah, Pushka, I think you have clearly articulated that it's not just a single industry. There will be few industries that may get impacted more, but I think overall, you are seeing disruption from fintech to obviously e-commerce, media, and disruption is actually the core and the way that many businesses have to really think where what they are, and how they can work or operate in this digital age. So that is something that every one of us have to really relook at our core business processes, how they operate, where can advanced analytics or AI capabilities can be brought in to automate some of our decision making. So what steps we have started now, while we have done the core digitization, in the digital submissions, all of that, our long-term vision that we see for life insurance is that using all these wearable technology, like your smart watches, your fitness trackers, your diabetes trackers. So we have started collecting all this data so that we can underwrite and discount those premiums. If you are healthy, we don't need to really charge higher premium. So how can we use technologies like that, wearable tech? How do we use advanced analytics to really rethink how we do? I mean, insurance itself is a very traditional industry. We have the actuaries, the underwriters who are very traditional in their mindset, but as an industry we are changing, and we want to disrupt insurance as it is. And Darshan, as you said, it's not really limited to to fintech. It's all these industries. We really need to see our core value proposition to our customers, and see how we can reinvent ourselves to face digital. We are seeing autonomous computing, we are seeing autonomous driving. So we are seeing next 10 years will be difficult to even think through. So disruption will happen. So it is really a necessity for us to modernize our legacy systems, and have those platforms in place, since the next wave of technology will be even more disruptive.
Zarid, do you have anything to add? Or?
Yep, I think it's well said. I think it's every industry has been touched, and every industry required the same. It got affected and needs the same transformation. It can be low touch, high touch, any industry. So I don't think any industry is less affected, except
Super.
for. Probably the government. I have no say on it, but.
So we have a very specific question again. So about cloud vendors and how they've worked well on a cloud platform using SAP. How they've delivered SAP successfully on cloud. And the question is, in the current RISE approach, how do they safeguard the interest of cloud service vendors in the country? Is there sort of a threat, or is there issues that will sort of have a business impact on cloud service vendors? Or
I think Pushka is the best to answer that because they are covering all the cloud vendors. So I don't think any cloud vendor has been affected.
Yeah. So I think from our perspective, we try to go ahead and provide as many choices as possible to our customers. Obviously, when you want to go ahead and run services at scale and size, that means that you need to invest into reliable infrastructure. You need to go ahead and invest into capabilities or partners with whom, who have that capability to be a trusted supplier, right, on a global level. And where we have gone ahead and come across these kind of partners, we have worked together with them. So I think it's about really going ahead and making that particular cut, and partners who do go ahead and qualify, we do work with them.
Yeah, and all the other partners, all the other cloud partners are already they're already in this in the same, they're playing on the same arena. For example, Azure to AWS to Google to everybody's on the same picture, because we can still, even we can have the normal S/4HANA, the on-prem version can be deployed on any of these clouds. So, what RISE is doing is the SAP is taking that responsibility of the deployment part of it. So I don't think anybody is being affected of that. But the only restriction is if any of this is for the clients, if they have any data residency requirements, for example, in the financial institutions and the insurance, also probably the case, if they have any data residency requirements, then only probably we might have to think about having their data on the local the country or wherever it requires. But apart from that, I don't think there is any restriction, or like the cloud vendors are got affected or anything.
So I think we're good on time, and I think we have time maybe for one more question. So again, I will ask a bit of a broad question. So when it comes to, I think, the Sri Lankan market, as I've discussed earlier, so you get a lot of medium to large scale industries who look at ERP as a sort of a finance function, and of course they might have a sort of a sales based system also, but integration, and also when you look at the businesses that really need to step up their game when it comes to recovering from the pandemic. So recovering from the pandemic, using data, using external data, being faster, and sort of providing a better service to customers. Now, I think Harsha's example was a very good example, where the app provided most of the features that a customer needs. So that was I think a way of in a way really approaching the customer faster, giving a better service, and also having a competitive advantage through use of IT. So so what do you recommend? I think there are companies who are in the medium to large scale. Also, there are family companies who are big enterprises who still look at segmented sort of systems and not a ERP. So when change in the mind, sort of change in the mindset of the leadership, which is a difficult part, to sort of embrace ERP, embrace the cloud systems. What would be an approach? I mean, it would be a general sort of what you can give, each of you can give your views on what I'm sure you have faced this situation, when you have to justify to many leaders and board members, and also to your staff, the staff who especially the IT staff who may not see the business value of such a change. So how would you go about that? And, I think it will be very useful for the participants to know as well.
Sure. So Darshan, maybe I'll take 30 seconds and then hand it over to Zarir and Darshan. But we see this particular challenge coming in every day. We work with family-owned enterprises across the globe. We look at medium and large enterprises. We work with them, and every one of them is slightly different, right? I think the important point about Rise with SAP is that it is a guided journey. Okay, so that basically means that you have SAP and its partners working together to go ahead and deliver on your vision of where you want to take the organization. SAP reduces the burden of this particular change management by taking over the run operations and allowing you to focus on the business. And then partners like John Keel's IT step in over there with their expertise, be it in terms of the business, that is the industry, or the local market conditions, or for that matter, their understanding of change management itself and how to drive it locally to really take that particular game to the next level. So, that's essentially how the entire model has worked, country after country. And, I think to that extent, this new way of working is going to be, fundamental in terms of how customers shape up and transform into the future. But maybe to really speak about how partners like John Keel's IT can add a lot of value, in fact, to this journey. Maybe I'll ask Zarir to chime in on that, because, with the kind of stuff that you've gone ahead and done, be it within Sri Lanka or even Middle East, Zarir, I'm sure that there are a lot of experiences that you'll have to share with the audience.
Yeah, Pushkar, one thing with going with on a subscription model is where we have helped customers to start small. One traditional challenge when we consider SAP for any enterprise, medium to large enterprises, it becomes there are three components to any of these implementations. You have the licensing, you have the implementation, and you have the hardware part of it. Where during the on-premise days, you have to spend all these capital expenditures to hardware, to licensing and everything. I think that's where we have the game changer now, because everything is on a subscription model. It's from CapEx to OpEx, it's changing. You can always start small, you can grow. When you are growing, you can, add more users, more infrastructure, more power, more storage, everything can be added. So this is something not only for the small to medium to large scale enterprises, even on the large scale enterprises, what we have seen in the past is there are companies who are actually having the seasonal factors where probably throughout the year, they won't be needing all the computation power to the storage they don't need that. So investing for that power throughout the year is not going to be economical for those companies. Even large companies where we have seen they are only increasing their power of computing during the seasonal factors. Likewise, so that is the beauty of all these subscription based, for example, things like Microsoft Azure is bringing into the picture, and likewise with the Rise with SAP program, now they can start everything small, and then they can grow with their growth. They can increase their users to infrastructure to everything. I think that will help all the small to or the medium to large enterprises, and obviously there are other SAP products also, which is like for medium to small to medium companies. But even now, medium to large companies can start very small with this subscription model, because that SAP will cover everything from the licensing to infrastructure, everything. They can start with a very small box on cloud, and they can start with minimum number of users, and then keep on add on. I think that's what we have done for even for smaller companies and larger companies where they have the seasonal factors, where they want to increase and then then decrease their computation power.
Yeah. So I think we're good. We've taken about 5 minutes extra, but there's one interesting question. I want to close with that one because I think it's an important area. So I think very quickly, in 5 minutes or so, if you can get an answer to this, it's about the government education sector, and of course, this brings about two separate arguments. I mean, two separate views. Of course, we need people to sort of even to transform digitally. Yes, we saw the necessity, we saw the videos and the industrial revolution happening, but it's in the end of the day, we need the people, the critical mass to be educated and be sort of ERP or cloud specialists. We need specialized people, not just people with general IT knowledge. So when it comes to education, even in the private sector or the government sector, do you all have an approach for training, and also do you all have, even for if you take at a macro level, the education, the government education or private education may sort of want to use some of these technologies. So do you all have sort of a I don't want to use the word discount, it's been used in the question, but special rates or special
so SAP has had a university alliances program for the longest period of time. So and we do have very close relationships with universities, colleges, small and large, across the globe. So my suggestion would be that if in such a situation where you need some of this kind of support, be it in terms of getting the necessary manpower trained, or for that matter, any of these other special pricings to be available for universities, the best way to go ahead and take it is through the University Alliances program. If they drop in a mail to us, I'll be happy to go ahead and connect them with the appropriate folks and for them to take forward the discussions. We deal with a slightly different set of audience, more onto the organized industries and the public and the private sectors, right? But when it comes to universities and education, they are obviously very special, and they need to be looked at differently, and therefore there's the University Alliances team to go ahead and help them out.
Thank you. So any closing remarks from any of you, or we can wind up?
Yeah, all I'll say is that I think change is something that is the only constant. We've all realized that over the last couple of months, and the fact is that if you do not digitize, if you do not transform, right? I would rather not go and use the word digital. I'll call it business transformation, because that is focused on outcomes, right? If we don't drive business transformation, then there is a very high probability that, Harsha showed a slide right at the beginning of his deck, which said that there were some of those extremely large companies, and today we had to go ahead and bid them a goodbye. And that's the reality. We will be challenged day in, day out by upstarts, by new ventures, by smarter people. And so we will be able to survive only if we are able to go ahead and change. And to that extent, SAP would want to go ahead and participate and help its customers go ahead and undertake this particular journey. More importantly, we are committed to ensuring that they go successful with these transformations. So what I can go ahead and say is that please keep an eye on this particular program. Consider it as a part of your evaluation. More important, work with our partners like John Keel's IT. They bring in a lot of expertise, right? They've got a lot of experience handling some of these transformations. Work with them. Let's go ahead and talk together, understand your challenges, and we'll be happy to go ahead and participate, to help you transform and reach your objectives. That's what I would want to go ahead and say. Maybe few closing remarks, Harsha, something, maybe
Harsha, you've been quiet.
Yes, I think I want to endorse that point, Pushka. I think we have also worked with John Keel's IT and SAP very closely. I think while the post-pandemic era, we are really looking forward to that. I think we have seen, as all the industries have seen, the potential disruption that can happen. I think we should use this. We should not slow down, and you should definitely look at if cloud SaaS is much more cost effective. These are not long drawn projects, easy to transform, so it's almost a no-brainer for you to definitely look at these options and have your digital core in place. Since fourth industrial revolution we are experiencing, and there are more things to come. So I think having a digital core with SAP is, I think, a great way to start this journey if you have not already done so.
Sarir?
Yeah. This is what we do at best. This is what we do at best, and we want the companies and the clients, customers to focus on what they do at their best, and let us take care of the digital transformation, the enterprise IT to ERP applications and all the applications. So I think that's what the main message is. So we can support on what we do best, and the companies can focus on what they do best. So that's what we do, and that's it from John Keel's IT.
Lovely. So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for taking your time off and sharing your very valuable insights with us. We learned a lot, and I'm sure there'll be more questions posted through Articulate, posted to you by the participants. I'm sure they are thinking of more questions which will be written to you aside from this discussion, and we will look at having more discussions and taking this knowledge forward. So thank you very much, and thank you Articulate for organizing this, and thank you very much for the participants. I hope you will sort of follow and sort of start this journey and sort of work with us very closely, and we hope to see you again next time. So thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Thank you, and
Thank you.
stay safe, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.